So, needless to say, the Chainsaw Man movie is the anime of the year. I know it's good, you know it's good, it is a perfect ass film, and there is a lot of ass in this film. Last month I saw the new Demon Slayer film, and I'm gonna say that this one is better in every aspect. Hands down, no contest. This film is the film of the year, anime of the year, and honestly, thing to exist of the year, for me. So let me walk you through what it was like to experience the movie in theaters, and how I left an utterly changed man because of that experience. So here is the general review that is spoiler-free. I think this movie is way better than the Demon Slayer film, and the reason I am comparing those two is not because any other reason than simply because that movie came out last month and they're both in the same genre, and so that's what I'm comparing it to, because that's the last time I went to a movie. And it just so happened to be an anime in the same genre as Chainsaw Man. No flaming! I love Demon Slayer, as everyone on this channel knows, and I love Chainsaw Man. You could say that I like to experience things like joy, happiness, and have something the old-timers call, which is called fun. So catch me with this tribalism nonsense, but Chainsaw Man is better. It has better pacing, it's better animation, insane voice acting in both sub and dub. I think that the best part of this film is the story more than anything else, which is crazy to me because this is Mappa Prime animating and producing something they actually had years to work on instead of like 3 months, which is actually the amount of time it took for them to produce Jujutsu Kaisen 0. But still, the story shines brighter than anything else, and with it, the characters. Reze is by far one of the most complicated characters in all of Chainsaw Man by this point in the story, only tied with Denji and Makima. Her story is one that by the end I felt sympathy for more than anything else. It felt like I yearned for her to get what she wanted by the end of the film. Her writing to me was just so masterful. So a bit of personal context. I run a second channel where I only talk about Chainsaw Man. Every week a new chapter comes out. Some of my favorite arcs in Chainsaw Man are an arc in Part 2, which I will not mention here to not spoil stuff, but for those who know, it involves the introduction of a certain chef, followed closely by the current arc in the manga. Well, in Part 1, my all-time favorite arc is the Reze arc by far, and Reze, for me, is my number 2. My number 1, or rather number 1s, are Asamitaka for 1A and Denji for 1B. Reze is number 2. So Mappa had a lot to prove for me, and they did so well that I think for the first time ever, the Chainsaw Man anime is better than the manga. The stuff they add just for Reze and Denji in this film, namely Reze's introduction sequence, not only gives a bit of pacing since the manga is much quicker. Just for comparison, this movie is just under 90 minutes, which is a breeze to watch and so much quicker than Demon Slayer's like 2.5 hour runtime, I think it was. The Reze arc in the manga can be completed, though, in like 15 minutes and maybe even less, so it's very impressive they were able to get an hour and a half. But Chainsaw Man, honestly, I would say if you are new to the Chainsaw Man manga, it is a very short read. It's not hard at all to get through. It's not wordy. So, Mappa, you get your thumbs up for me when it comes to Reze and how you adapted this arc. And also, you really didn't need to cake her up like that, guys. Let's just hole up. Speaking of cake, Makima is the next notable mention, because this arc really is the primer for the rest of the series until this very day in Part 2, and that goes for Makima. Her character shone through in a way that I did not expect. The first scene with the movie date with Denji and then later on near the end of the film are unforgettable and character defining. I don't think I've ever seen such a character go even higher than she already was. Keep in mind, Makima in Season 1 blew pretty much everyone away, mostly because she was hotter than the surface of the sun, which goes a long way, but because you just know, looking at her, that there is so much to unravel with her. So this movie does a fantastic job of giving a glimpse at the layers of Makima deep inside. Not too much though, but just enough to make you want to go deeper. This is partly because of the movie that Makima went to see with Denji called The Ballad of a Soldier, which is actually a real film I just did a video for yesterday. We went through the entire thing, we reviewed the film, and explained why she cried at the end of it along with Denji. But this in turn helps define Makima's character as something insanely unique in today's shonen world. Makima is complicated to the point where by the end of this film, you can either feel sympathy for her or a deep-seething hatred, or you can choose to accept her as she is and see what her goal is and just sort of go with it. Either way, I think Makima is the second standout of this film, right below Reze for what it's worth. Now, Denji. Denji's character is right below Makima for me, and for good reason. Not only is Denji a mega wubby subby wub to Makima, but because throughout the film, Denji constantly declares that his heart belongs to Makima, yet his body can't help but be attracted to Reze. And I love how they portray that in the film, and especially through Denji's dub VA, who just absolutely kills it every time he plays Denji. Honestly, I don't think you guys know this if you're only sub-watchers, but Chainsaw Man's dub is probably one of the best of all time. Which I've said that a lot recently, but that also goes to show how good dubs are these days. But anyways, Denji is here to help define these two women in his heart better, and I think without Denji, obviously, none of this would work as well as it does. Denji being so smitten with Reze, just, in this movie it feels so right, and it just works. I think to this very day that Reze could be one of the best shots Denji could have at true love and a good life. I mean, she's just such a good fit for this character. She is the one woman where I constantly go back to think of, even to this day. And it actually, I do it all of the time, probably every week, constantly thinking of the what ifs and all of that. Their chemistry is just so infectious, and it is one where it's also kind of soul healing for the two of them, and that's really nice to see. In many ways, this is the first time we also get to see Denji in the series truly have fun and actually have a genuine smile for once. Where in contrast, Makima becomes, to me at least, almost like an obstacle for Denji's happiness. But much of these three characters' journeys throughout the film really hinge on two stories that are outside of the context of it. Ballad of a Soldier, the film, and The Country Mouse and the City Mouse from Aesop's Fable. So if you want to have your mind blown, please watch my 40-minute mega essay on that film after you finish this. I'm not just saying that because that's the YouTuber thing to say. I actually genuinely mean it. This film changes your entire perspective, and the film sort of just becomes an allegory for something larger. Reze, Makima, and Denji will never be the same for you when you watch that movie. I promise. So I also have to mention the supporting cast because they did so well too, but I'll keep it short. Aki and Angel's side story is one of the most compelling relationships of this film. Now without Himino, or Himi, Aki is now accompanied by Angel, who is a dude, and he loves ice cream and is a dude. Radiant and Shrine Vestments, Angel is a dude. Same goes for Beam, he is also a dude, and he is in fact also best boy, which gets into who I went to see this film with. Yes, again, my mother. Her thoughts were pretty good though, especially this time. I think you guys will get a little bit of a kick out of it. So if you haven't already, just for these videos, go back and watch my other like movie reviews where I went to theaters. I think I did one for Dandadan, obviously for Demon Slayer, and maybe something else. So definitely go back. I may make a playlist for those. Either way, they're pretty easy to find. So first of all, my mother adored Beam, which just goes to show that Beam is truly the best boy to everyone. When people say that about him, it isn't just a meme, it isn't just a joke, it is real, and you will understand by the end why it is. To this day, still is the best supporting character in the series for me. So it's really cool that I myself see Beam as the best supporting character to this day in the series, and my mother also loves Beam, and also the entire humanity, every single individual person that you could even go to and ask this question. They won't even know what Chainsaw Man is. They'll just say, yeah, I think Beam's best boy. Why? Because it's Beam. But my mother also seems diabolical, because if I were to bring, let's just theoretical here, bring Makima or Reze home, she would sadly only approve of Makima. Can you believe that? That is right. I asked which of the women she prefers, and she said that Denji should just go with Makima. She didn't really even like Reze because, well, I mean, I presume it's just because she's the bomb girl and does a lot of really crazy stuff in the film. But the fact my mother would want Denji to go with Makima just made me, you have no idea the smile I cracked. Though, I will say this, she did say that she saw Denji as someone who didn't have a lot of common sense, but he had a lot of heart. And by the end of the film, she was just really sad about the state Denji was in. And yeah, I think she's on point here, and I agree with it. Denji is one sad boy, and we really do need to give him head pats, chin rubs, and a large stockpile of fresh clothes. The last one right there is for sure, because that boy goes through clothes like nothing in this film. But overall, I think me and my mother both agree that you'll go to this film, and one thing you will definitely feel by the end of it is a feeling of just overwhelming sadness and grief for our good little boy Denji. As well, she really liked Angel, and especially Aki Hayakawa, but let me just say, it's much like Beam. I don't think anyone hates Aki Hayakawa, and I also think everyone loves Angel, especially very straight men like myself. She thought Aki was this sad guy who deserved better, to which I agreed, and I myself wanted to just kiss that hunk. But sadly, he was animated, and thus I couldn't get like a big enough ladder to reach the screen. I tried to bring it in, they just wouldn't let me. They said it was, they would have to kick me out if I did. So had to give that back, that ladder back to that man I stole it from. Also, the same goes for Kobeni and the Violence Fiend, which definitely came out wrong. Though I would, you know what? Yeah, I'll give Kobeni and Violence a smooch. I think they deserve it after this film. But while their roles are small, Kobeni and Violence were a lot of fun when they were there. Same goes for Power, who... Okay, I'm not going to kiss Power, by the way. But anyway, same goes for Power, who has a memorable moment despite only being in this film for maybe like 2 minutes. Yeah, that's right. This is one stinky free movie. Oh yeah, oh god, oh yeah. Speaking of, how did they do that scene? And if you don't know... If you're a manga reader, you know, but if you don't know, you'll know. So this is we'll just say this very special moment in the film with the majority of the cast huddled together. And in the manga, this was and still is one of those moments where it became memorable because Fujimoto simply just had the balls to do something that ridiculous in the first place and got away with it somehow. All I will say about it is this. Yes, no Power, get away. That is all. However, Mappa disagreed with me on that Power part. So if you're a Power fan, you're going to get a face full of Power. That is for sure. Also, she tries to kill Denji, is a narcissist, and an absolute racist. Remember that. That is all. But that is sort of like basically it for my overall general spoiler-free comments on this. I think this film is one that you need to see, and if you haven't watched Season 1, get to it, homie. This movie is in many ways like Demon Slayer's Mugen Train moment, where the first season for many people was actually great, but didn't give a good sense of what Chainsaw Man actually is. This film, however, is the full realization of the concept of Chainsaw Man, and by the end of it, I left falling in love with the characters like Reze and Makima all over again, as I had done before. It also made me realize that Chainsaw Man really is a special series, and my expectations for it were massive already, since I read the manga, of course, but if Mappa can adapt the rest of Part 1 like this, and eventually Part 2, which just makes me drooling thinking about anything from Part 2 being animated, but I think we have a series that will be this generation's Attack on Titan, or potentially could be. And I know I've said that for something else recently before, but that's how good anime is right now. God, these anime movies are just, there's something special, I'm telling you. But in the sense that I think it is lumped in with shonen a lot. And Chainsaw Man is a shonen, I know, but it is, to me, it is more about the story, and I think the story captures a more general audience, aka the zeitgeist. So people who watch Sunday Night Football, Game of Thrones, or The Walking Dead, I think these were the audiences that were tuning in to Attack on Titan every week, and I think this series has that potential to capture, at the very least, something very similar to that. But what did you think about the Reze arc film? I'd give it a 10 out of 10 and rank it above Demon Slayer, honestly. Let me know below. If you made it this far, drop a pair of hearts in the comments. As well, subscribe to my Chainsaw Man channel, where we cover new chapters every Tuesday. Join my Discord to help grow our community, and be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.